It was a special attraction Showtime boxing event that went down on Sunday, August 29th from the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. The event was headlined by YouTube star turned pro boxer Jake Paul as he faced and defeated former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, who made his pro boxing debut in an 8-round decision loss to Jake Paul. And we're here to break it all down. We got myself and Lucky Locks picks. We're going to do just a quick, not even a rundown, just a recap, a reaction of the main card. We're going to get out of here. You know, we were up till like 4 a.m. last night. So we're just going to do a quick little rapid fire 25-minute breakdown of this one. So yeah, Jake Paul picks up the split decision victory over Tyron Woodley. He remains undefeated, improves to 4-0. Pretty decent card from top to bottom, nothing overly special. This fight, as someone who had a Tyron Woodley bet in this in this fight, incredibly frustrating to watch. Watching MMA fighters fight in boxing is just, unless you're, Clay Collard or Dustin Jacoby, it's slim pickings. There's a lot of pretty terrible, technique that Woodley was showing, although he was faring pretty well, but just, that high Muay Thai guard in boxing is just not fun to watch. But, someone who didn't have a Tyron Woodley ticket was my man, Lucky Locks Picks. What did you think of the affairs tonight? How did you fare?
Well, I mean, I made out of there with 0.005 units. I had Jake Paul by knockout. That was my big play. I had 1.75 units on that, through 0.3 units on the decision at plus 600. So I was able to cash that, just hedge out, didn't lose any money. Made myself $5. So can't really complain too much there from a betting standpoint. Didn't lose anything. So it was a good night on the circus fights.
Yeah, like for me, honestly, the only I bet on too many of these lower level boxing fights. I had a bet on Ivan Berinchik. That one didn't come through. I had the fight goes the distance in that one. That didn't come through. I also had Amanda Serrano inside the distance. That one didn't come through. I was almost having as bad of a night as the Barstool guys, but I did have fight goes the distance, yes, in the main event that cashed. And I bet this on like Monday, which cashed at like 6-1 odds. So that definitely saved my my entire night. And yeah, let's get into it. I honestly, this was just like we said before we went on camera. This is one of those ones I was watching it with my girlfriend, and as soon as it got past the second round, I was like, this fight's going the distance. I was certain of it because you could just tell that Woodley turned into old classic Tyron Woodley, where he was gun shy and he was, he wasn't the guy that was the fighter in that Vicente Luque fight who came forward and brought the pressure. He did a good job boxing as far as his footwork. His footwork was a lot better than Jake Paul's, in all honesty. He was like boxing him out just with his footwork. But the only problem is he wasn't punching. And, once Jake Paul started to figure out that Tyron Woodley was kind of gun shy, he was able to kind of just dictate by firing off of his back foot, because it was just a weird kind of stalemate where Woodley was walking forward but not punching, and Jake Paul was respecting the power but fighting better off of his back foot. It was such a weird, strange, very frustrating fight. And then as far as the judging went, it was just ridiculous. One of the judges scored it 7 rounds to 1 for Tyron Woodley, I believe, which is
was like, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, one of the judges scored, I believe, from the 5th round on, gave every single round to Tyron Woodley. Honestly, I scored it 5-3. And I was honestly going into the decision thinking we might see a draw. And that's the problem with like 8-round fights is there can just be like a legitimate clear cut draw. Like it's different than 10 rounds or 12 rounds, and there was a point there where I was thinking like it was 2-2, I thought at one point. Showtime just continuously every single time that they show a unofficial scorecard, it's always just complete nonsense. I think they had it like 6-1 Jake Paul on the unofficial scorecard at one point, and with all due respect, the fight was a lot closer than what the unofficial card on the screen was showing, in my opinion. Obviously, Jake Paul was doing a good job fending him off on his back foot, and basically Tyron Woodley was unable to throw his hands, and he was unable to go first, and he was fighting in like a weird Muay Thai stance, almost like a square Muay Thai stance, so typical MMA. And he was also trying to like block punches downwards with his left hand, which is just again so MMA. And you could just tell. I was even watching the Amanda Serrano post fight. This is a woman who is a boxing champion who also has some MMA experience as well on a professional level, and she was like, you can't just go back and forth. It's a completely different type of striking style. I mean, even when Frank Mir, when he fought that Triller fight a couple of months ago, he said the same thing. It's just not the same. It looks like still the only guy that's been able to successfully transfer over has been Anderson Silva, who
he looked
now
great, actually.
and he's coming up now in a couple weeks, so maybe we'll have to do another one of these for that Anderson Silva. I guess
definitely.
it's kind of different because he's fighting another MMA fighter, but I'm all for the Anderson Silva boxing experiment. But as far as the fight goes, what were your thoughts about how it went, like from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, Jake, just as soon as they get in there, he's a lot bigger. You kind of notice that right away. I thought it was kind of a tentative round one for both of them. Jake Paul was able to kind of open it up with that double jab, nice little combo. I feel like he had a more functional jab. The reach was apparently the same. I kind of thought Jake Paul had a longer reach for whatever reason, but they brought it up.
That was incorrect. What they showed on the screen.
What they show, okay. Because I was gonna
Jake
say,
Paul is a 76-inch reach. That was
okay.
incorrect.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Anyways, that was a little weird when I was watching that, but yeah, I mean, Woodley just like you said, didn't really want to go first. He didn't throw a whole lot in the first round. I thought Jake Paul actually did a decent job kind of judging the distance. He was able to avoid a big shot there. Once again, round two, Jake Paul, some decent work to the body. Woodley had a little flurry. BJ Flores in the corner of Jake Paul, giving good advice. He's got a good team behind him, some really good boxing minds there. Woodley was able to hit him pretty clean near the end of the round, of that round three. Round four, I thought Woodley looked pretty good, came out hard. Jake was kind of initiating more of those clinch sequences. T Wood obviously rocked him with the right hand there and really kind of took over the round. I thought that was a pretty easy round for Woodley. And like Morrow kept talking about, this is the first round Paul's lost. And it's like, well, he has three first round KOs. So, I mean, he hasn't even completed a round yet, other than this fight. Woodley also kind of came out strong in the fifth round. I thought Jake Paul was starting to swing a little bit wild. And there I felt like he was starting to feel the heat a little bit. I didn't, like we talked about before, I didn't really feel like Jake Paul was able to hurt T Wood that much, whereas I felt like Woodley's strikes, when he actually was landing, were doing a lot more damage and definitely making Jake Paul think a little bit more. Woodley just kind of continued to walk him down in the fight. And also, like you said, he was walking him down, but wasn't really doing anything with that. I mean, he was just kind of getting in position, but then not capitalizing on any of that.
Yeah.
I thought Jake Paul did some pretty decent work in the sixth round. The left hook looked pretty decent. T Wood finished that round with a pretty good connection. And then, I mean, Tyron Woodley, like we were talking about, walking him down, creating a little bit of offense later on the ropes, kind of backing him up. a little bit more activity from Woodley once he kind of figured, I probably got to make something happen here if I want to have any chance. Jake Paul landed a nice left hand. He was really liking that overhand right while dipping to the left, and
Yeah.
I thought Jake Paul was pretty tired by the end of it, honestly. But yeah, I mean, Jake Paul, I think, definitely won the fight. I don't think it should have been a split decision, and I'm with you. I had it 5-3 for Jake Paul.
Yeah, I had it 5-3, but honestly, the way that I've learned how to score boxing and MMA now is like you kind of have to have like a range of like a an undecided range, like kind of like an election. Like you have to just have like, I thought it was 5-3, but I could see how somebody could have scored it 4-4, and I could see how somebody somehow is somebody who doesn't understand boxing, like a judge in Ohio or Indiana, who those or no, the one was from Pennsylvania, but I could have also saw potentially them scoring it 5-3 Woodley. And I'm not saying that that's not how I scored it. Absolutely not. I scored it 5-3 Paul. But how many times have we seen just the most ridiculous scorecards, especially in boxing, let alone MMA? Like as MMA fans, if you're new to boxing and you're like, wow, that's a brutal scorecard, and you don't watch boxing, like, let me tell you, there is terrible scorecards every single time that you sit down and watch boxing. It's atrocious. And I wasn't going to be shocked if they were going to say that Woodley won that fight, even though he clearly lost. Yeah, that was just super frustrating. He just wouldn't throw. He wouldn't throw a 2. He was just constantly throwing a 1. And I feel like if Woodley was able to throw the 2, he would have won this fight, and Jake Paul was really doing a good job with those combos, with those extended combos, landing like the 3-4 and like setting up him and his brother have just like that weird, like kind of just like, I don't know, weird like looping shot combinations. He is obviously a lot better than his brother is, but he kind of just like hits him from both sides and then throws an uppercut in there, it's all right. He's obviously going to get better at doing that, but he landed that a couple of times on Woodley, and it was effective. But as the fight went on, those combos went away. And another thing that I said that when we were off camera that I need to bring up is it was extremely frustrating to see Tyron Woodley eat a shot head on from Jake Paul and like shake his head like, nope, that didn't hurt. And Jake Paul feint right after that, and Woodley bite on the feint. And Jake Paul was feinting the whole fight, and Woodley was biting on the feint every single time. And even when he had offense, he would start stepping in, like going, like boxing him out to get a good shot in. And Jake Paul, instead of, he was using his feints as defense, and then Tyron would just step out of the pocket because he was scared of getting hit. And that's just so frustrating. Like that's, it's just, that's one of those things where it's, if you're transitioning from MMA to boxing, in boxing, you like in MMA, you're only going to get honestly hit clean, probably like, unless you're willingly standing in the pocket. But like in MMA, you don't get hit as much as you get hit in boxing. In boxing, you have to willingly stand there and get hit, and you have to be okay with getting hit. And Woodley was not okay with getting hit. At no point in that fight was he okay with just stepping forward into Jake Paul's jab like you see, championship boxers do. And it was apparent pretty early on that this fight was going to end up going the distance just because of what I just explained, that like Woodley was gun shy and also too scared to step forward and close the distance because Jake Paul was feinting and trying to scare him off with his power. And super incredibly frustrating. So yeah, Jake Paul cashes -160 favored on the money line, plus 700 to win by decision. I had over 3.5 rounds at plus 115, but it closed at minus 139. So that was a good one. And then, of course, fight goes the distance. Yes, it cashed at a closing odds of plus 450. I had 6-1. So yeah, Jake Paul, like I said, 160 betting favorite, split decision win. He improves now to 4-0 in his professional boxing career. He's turned a profit of just over 2.5 units on the money line in that stretch. And then with the fight going the distance, the fight goes the distance prop has now cashed in 6 of Tyron Woodley's last 10 pro fights, and turning a profit. If you bet $100 on every single Tyron Woodley fight goes the distance, yes, since 2016, you're up $930 right now, because this dude is just so gun shy and has a pretty decent chin that he goes the distance all the time. And, if he was able to get some sharp enough boxing skills, he would probably actually have a decent boxing career, because just his durability. But man, that high Mai Tai guard is just not.
That looked like right off the bat, you saw that. It just looked weird.
Yeah, it was
in this setting.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of Conor McGregor against Floyd, but it was almost worse because he was standing in that almost kind of like Michael Chandler MMA stance, where he was just
exactly
very, very, very and just the way that he was punching down, blocking down shots, and he did get some nice elbows in there in the clinch. He had one time where he grabbed him by the back of the head and threw an elbow in there. It was nice to see not too much clinching. The clinching was
a lot less than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah, I guess, honestly, Jake Paul impressed me. It was pretty game, to be completely honest. He's definitely needs to work on it, but you got to still give him props to be able to go 8 rounds with Tyron Woodley. And then we got to talk about it. I mean, they're talking about, I think they're saying that they signed the rematch clause, but who knows? But there's, I feel like, when we watch the post-fight poll on the screen, it showed 57% of people on the poll believe that Tyron Woodley won the fight, and I feel like that was kind of just trolling Jake Paul. I don't think that was an honest sentiment.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But I do still feel like they have there's a chance to sell this rematch.
Yeah,
what do you think?
So too. I think so too. I feel like Jake Paul probably would want it. I mean, he just beat him, and I feel like it was pretty clear for Jake Paul. So, I mean, Jake Paul doesn't pass up the chance to fight 40-year-old wrestlers that weigh 20 pounds less than him, right? So, I feel like you could probably do that one again. If I'm Tyron Woodley, I mean, yeah, I want the money. Yeah, I want a chance to redeem myself, but I don't know, man. If I'm T-Wood, personally, I don't know if that's a fight that I want again. Obviously, he wants it. We'll see what happens. I would probably pick Jake to win again, just based on what we saw tonight. I definitely think T-Wood could make some adjustments and definitely have a chance to win. I think he'd be live, but I would probably go with Jake Paul once again if they ran it back.
Yeah, I would probably go. I would honestly probably go Jake Paul by decision.
Yeah,
that would
I just
probably
don't think he can really hurt T-Wood.
The stylistic
really
matchup
didn't look like it tonight.
The stylistic matchup is just, now that we've seen it, it's just so evident that the two guys cancel each other out. Woodley is a better fighter, but he's gun shy, and Jake Paul has a bunch of tenacity and is young and is willing to take a shot. And it's compelling. I also think it's good for Jake Paul, because if he goes and fights Tommy Fury, who didn't look very good tonight, but just because Tommy Fury is like a natural born boxer, like the type of dude who's been boxing since he was 4, like compared to Tyron, yeah, I think Tommy Fury would knock him out.
Yeah,
Just
I honestly think he would annihilate him.
yeah, it would not be a it wouldn't go the distance.
No, I don't think so either.
And it would be one-sided. And what would end up happening was Jake Paul would just clinch and probably run, and he would probably get booed out of the building, which is all the reason for Jake Paul to not take that fight with Tommy Fury.
Yeah, I think that would be a really bad idea for him. That would bring a lot of the hype to an end pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think that he should fight Tyron Woodley. And then honestly, I feel like I would like to see, and I don't hate it. It's just like so bizarre. But I feel like the matchup that nobody's talking about is Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. I think that would be. I know that there was a rumor that Anderson Silva was supposed to fight Logan Paul.
Logan, yeah.
But yeah, that would be. I don't even think a commission would allow that, just because of as like a legitimate boxing match. But Jake Paul is 190 pounds. Honestly, I bet you if Jake Paul gets by Woodley again, that will be the fight that I wouldn't be shocked to see that. A Showtime fight, Silva, Jake Paul. Like, of course, yeah, I know that Silva's like a minus 400 favorite against Tito. I think he probably gets past Tito pretty easily. But yeah, what do you think about that matchup? I think Jake Paul and Anderson Silva is kind of underrated. Like, I think that would be a pretty decent fight.
I would definitely be down to watch that. Didn't Anderson Silva open up as a like the prospective odds for that Logan Paul fight? Didn't he open up as a dog?
Yeah, and that was like a mistake. I think that like
I was gonna say, I mean, I might as well take out a mortgage and just put like $1 million on Anderson Silva in that one, because there's no way he loses to Logan Paul, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the odds makers like made a mistake and was like, oh, he's fighting Jake Paul. Oh, well, he's got to be the underdog. And then the market was just like, excuse me, because that immediately corrected, and it corrected to like Anderson Silva, like minus 280.
Yeah,
like,
two something. I saw that on Bet Online the other day. They still had it up.
Yeah, but Logan Paul, I don't think Logan Paul has a future in professional boxing. Jake Paul,
neither do I.
I mean, Jake Paul definitely does. And I got to say, I feel like Anderson Silva would not sit back. Well, he would sit back, but he wouldn't be gun shy. He would actually be aggressive. And yeah, I don't know. Tyron Woodley, that fight, pretty cut and dry, but I wouldn't close the book on it, to be completely honest. I still think that there's a little bit of meat on that bone. You look like people that I know that don't watch mixed martial arts or boxing were messaging me about this fight.
Big time.
Like CombatOdds.ca, we had our two biggest weekends traffic wise up starting in April when we started. Our two biggest weekends was the Israel Adesanya fight in June, and then obviously McGregor Poirier. This weekend beat both of those. So Tyron Woodley, he's got name value to him. He's kind of just like a darling in the MMA community. And then Jake Paul is he's just like the perfect heel. And this is gonna up his stock as a bad guy in the MMA community, and it's going to be interesting to see how he doubles down on this. But as a fan of just Tyron Woodley, I would still like to see him get another shot, and that's just me. I don't even know. That's just me, like wanting to see this story end with a kind of a good ending for him. But honestly, even if he gets the rematch and it happens, all it needs to do is happen, and I would be happy. But at that point, I don't think I'm going to be tricked again. I think Woodley by decision from here on, or sorry, Woodley goes the distance from here on out is pretty much a lock. And unless he's fighting a guy like Vicente Luque. So yeah, any closing thoughts? What did you think of this whole event as a whole before we close it down?
I mean, honestly, I enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, it was like 100 million times better than Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion. Um, it was actually, a fight that I was somewhat looking forward to. I'm honestly like a little embarrassed how much I kind of was actually looking forward to it once the day actually came. I was actually excited to watch it just to see how it unfolded. And yeah, I mean, it's not easy to cross over from MMA into boxing if you don't really have a base in that prior to your MMA career. Obviously, it's a different sport, and we saw that today. I think obviously Jake Paul also has big physical and youth advantages in this one too that were able to help him. And I'm excited to see who he fights next. I'd love to see this will never happen, but I'd love to see Hector Lombard and Jake Paul go at it.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
I would love to see that, man. The press conference would be priceless for that fight.
Oh my God. He would. Oh my God. That would be incredible. That's
That would be awesome.
Wow. You just took the speech out of my mouth. That's I know I remember that I saw that Hector Lombard said that he wanted to fight. And that also reminds me,
he wanted to fight him bare knuckle.
That might be the fight to make for Tyron if he doesn't get this matchup right. That might be his next stop. Is getting absolutely desecrated by Hector Lombard.
Oh, you know what? I completely forgot about that beef between Woodley and Hector at BKFC. Or where was it? Was at BKFC, right?
Yeah, and apparently there's like contracts pending for them to fight, depending on the outcome of this fight. But I do believe also, not to be long-winded, but I do believe also there was kind of some shenanigans going on because I heard earlier in the week that there was a guaranteed rematch clause in this fight in between these two guys that no matter what happened, there would be a rematch. So we might be kind of being fed a little bit here, but who knows? It is what it is. It's freak show boxing, and it almost, it almost keeps getting better. Like we got another freak show fight coming up. We got, like I said, we got those two fights: Anderson Silva taking on Tito Ortiz. That's two MMA fighters fighting boxing. But then we just have an absolute full-on freak show fight as Vitor Belfort is fighting Oscar De La Hoya on September 12th, which is just a complete freak show. But am I going to bet on it? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just so hard not to.
The stakes might be small, but I'll definitely have a wager on it. And I feel like Anderson Silva is a solid parlay piece because there's no way he's losing that fight.
Yeah,
but
no chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's basically it. We did 28 minutes. That's pretty good. Just wanted to have a rundown. I'm actually going to talk with Liam Pix, who was there tonight. So I'm going to talk to him tomorrow afternoon and get his perspective from the actual arena, because that place seemed like it was pretty rocking for a Cleveland crowd.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we're going to do another post show. What, for next UFC? You down to do that?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, we'll be back next Saturday. It's a afternoon card, and the UFC is perfect. I got a siren. All right. So yeah, the UFC is going head to head with Glory Kickboxing, and Glory has an awesome card, as well as KSW is all going down on Saturday afternoon. So that's going to be super awesome. So
big fight day.
Yeah. There's the sirens going by. Can you hear it as much as you can hear it? Oh, okay. Well, anyways, that's my cue to get out of here. So yeah, we'll be back hopefully not at 2 in the morning next Saturday because of the afternoon card. But
Yeah,
hopefully,
hopefully, unless something goes terribly
yeah.
wrong.
Well, yeah, we'll be here probably about 9 or no, what, like 7 or 8, who knows. But
Yeah, I honestly
anyways,
don't know when the main card starts.
I think it's like a noon
Or
start because till, so it's for the
yeah, it was supposed to be in the UK, so I mean it's chock full of UK fighters on here. So you get it
yes,
prime time over there.
so it's going to be like a noon card, so it'll start for like 5 p.m. over in England. So yeah, we'll probably get started at what, like 7 or 8 p.m. But anyways, it's always, as always, it's always time tentative to start. You got to hang out, and thanks for all the viewers that hung out. We had a ton of viewers to start, a bunch of them probably just looking for some Paul Woodley reactions, and that's why we made the content. So until we
Exactly.
see you, until we see you next Saturday, thanks a lot. Talk to you later, guys.